No sunlight warms the Finuval plain. A shadow seems to have passed over the place where the High Elves fought against the Witch King and his dark host. The slaughter of that day, when the Battle of Finuval Plain was fought, still resonates across the bleak moor. After the catastrophic events of the Sundering, the Elves were forever divided. The Dark Elves were cast out of the island of Ulthuan as the High Elves began rebuilding their kingdom after the ending of the bloody civil war. At the expense of the countless lives of captured slaves, Malekith and his Dark Elves built a home in Naggaroth, and once firmly established, the Witch King declared it was time for the armies of the Dark Elves to vent their full fury upon Ulthuan once more. The Age of Vengeance had begun. Scarcely had the Witch King declared the new assault on Ulthuan when the vast horde of Northlanders attacked out of the Chaos Wastes. Many amongst Malekith's court counselled that he abandon the invasion on the island and focus instead on defending their homeland from the chaos coming from the north. But the Witch King had other plans. He sent Morathi northward as an emissary. To the invading chieftains, the sorcerers brought gold, slaves, and pleasures too numerous to name. Englamoured by Morathi's beauty and snared by the gifts she bestowed, the warlords of the north cast aside their ambitions to ransack Naggaroth and allied with the Witch King. When the Dark Elves took ships to Ulthuan, they did so alongside a chaos host nearly as great as their own. Black arcs beached across northern Ulthuan, and the black-bannered host swiftly besieged and overwhelmed the defences of the Phoenix Gate and the Griffin Gate. The Witch King drove his armies all the harder. His generals, eager to outdo one another and so gain the Lord's favour, loosened a tide of bloodletting and destruction not seen for thousands of years. Soon, all of Ulthuan was ablaze. More than anything else, Malekith sought the death of the Ever-Queen, for he knew it would spread unquenchable dismay amongst the High Elves. Wrathful at the failure of his assassins, the Witch King loosened the greater demon, Nakari, to hunt the Ever-Queen, while he continued his campaign burning through Ulthuan. After weeks of fighting, voices upon the winds of magic brought news that Nakari had been banished. the Witch King took it as an omen that his invasion was in jeopardy. He was enraged. But he also was wiser and more calculating than when he last brought war to Ulthuan, so he dispatched a portion of his army back to Nagaroth. So it was that, when the High Elves marshalled their remaining strength to make the last stand at the Battle of Finuval Plain, they faced a dark host less than half the size of that which had first invaded Ulthuan. Still, the Dark Elves' force was huge, bolstered by their fell allies. To make matters worse, Malekith led the Dark Elves' army. His pride would not allow otherwise. At the head of the Dark Elf assault rode Urian Poisonblade, the Witch King's champion and deadliest warrior of Nagorond. The two armies clashed like a tide of black engulfing a white rock. Poisonblade cut down a score of Elves heroes as he sought out Prince Tyrion, who in turn claimed dozens of Dark Elves' lives with his rune blade, Sunfrang. At the same time, Malekith channeled ungodly energies to bring down fire and ruin upon his foes, whilst wrestling with techless counterspells. For the first time, Malekith had found a foe that was his match. On the field, Dark Elf and High Elf blood mattered the grass and transformed the ground into a crimson quagmire. Thousands died, but neither side gave any ground. So great was the carnage that warriors fought over the bodies of the dead. Eventually, Tyrion and Poisonblade met on the battlefield, and the two mighty warriors began to fight. At the end, Tyrion was victorious. But even then, it soon became clear that even the deeds of heroes could not overcome that dark host. Tyrion could not be everywhere at once, and Teclis could not halt every spell. Slowly, the weight of numbers turned against the High Elves. Teclis saw the battle had turned, that the High Elves would be massacred if something desperate was not attempted. Gathering his strength, Teclis invoked the power of Lilith, his staff glowing with brilliant light as the goddess fed him energy. Then he unleashed a terrible curse upon the Witch King. Realizing his peril, Malekith turned all his power to deflecting the spell, but was too slow to divert it entirely. The bolt struck the Witch King and engulfed him with its energies. No ordinary curse. This magical blast awakened the vengeance of Asuryan that still lingered within Malekith's soul, that had burnt within his breast for nearly 5,000 years. The hideous burning of old raged anew through Malekith's body, tearing his flesh and mind. Tormented by the god's judgment, the Witch King hurled himself into the realm of chaos, where Asuryan's vengeance could not follow. With their lord seemingly destroyed, the Dark Elves retreated, leaving their northern allies to fare however they could against the vengeful High Elves. The defenders of Ulthuan pursued mercilessly. By sending his best generals back to Nagaroth, Malekith had preserved his finest warriors from destruction, but now he was lost to the mortal world. Having wandered long enough through the realms of chaos, Malekith finally clawed his way back to the world of mortals. A patrol of Dark Riders discovered the Witch King's broken body in the shadow of northern watchtowers, his armour rent and torn. Morathi nursed his son for a year. In the ranting of waking nightmares, the Witch King spoke of bone castles and forests of eyes. When he awoke, his raging anger was gone, replaced by a cold resolve. Malekith's eyes burned with a new light.
Thank you for watching. On this channel, we're putting together fan-made cinematic episodes featuring historical and fantasy battles based on the settings from the Total War series and, of course, good old World of Warhammer. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and hit the notification button to be the first to watch the next battle.